Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and we are going to continue our playthrough of Bloodborne, the board game. This time we now venture into Chapter 2 of The Long Hunt. For those of you that missed chapter number 1 or the setup video or even the unboxing of the core game, I'll put a link to all of those in the top right hand corner, the showcase, where you can get caught up to where we currently are right now. Now there's a number of things on screen I want to talk about that carry over from chapter number 1 when you complete it to chapter number 2. So first off, in the top right there you'll see 3 cards overlapping each other. These are a combination of the hunt mission as well as some insight missions I completed. You're going to keep the end card of each of these missions near your player board as a reference as you go through each chapter of a campaign. You'll also notice I have switched out Ludwig's rifle. I like this thing when things start getting a little bit rougher near the end when you start dealing with bosses, but for some reason the hunter pistol and its ability to stagger on a basic attack and to also only cost 1 card out of hand to refresh it while in the midst of all the enemies, I find to be a little bit more useful than Ludwig's rifle, but it has its purpose as well. But in between chapters is when you can switch out your firearm. And then down the bottom right hand section I have everything that I accumulated from chapter number 1. I'm up to my maximum on hunter's tools as well as the runes, and I still have my bolt paper with me. For those interested in seeing what my deck, my hunter's deck, is comprised of after the upgrades we gained from chapter number 1, here is everything in my deck. It will now be shuffled and placed to the left of the player board. So moving past chapter number 1 and into chapter 2, we have the mission card here. It's going to tell us that we need to reveal card 18, which is surely going to begin our hunt as it mentions. We also have a number of tiles that if we move into by ending our movement there, we're going to be able to reveal some cards similar to what we saw in chapter number 1 that are going to progress the story and the campaign out. Let's go ahead and flip this card over and see what we need to do around setup. As you can see on the card at the very top, the enemies remain the same. In order to change things up, I've gone ahead, shuffled these, flipped some over, and also changed the way they sit in terms of the spawn icons, so we have variation. Again, remember, each of these enemy cards has 2 sides, which will certainly change up your strategy against them. The next section is all around tiles and which ones you need to grab, so make sure you grabbed all the name tiles, and then for each hunter in play, you're going to add 2 random map tiles in to a maximum of 5. So in my case with 1 hunter, just 2 random ones will go in. However, you'll notice at the very bottom of this card it says Special Rules Cards, Long Hunt Card 17, which means go ahead and reveal card 17 to find out more about setup. Special setup instructions state, before creating the tile deck, take the graveyard and tomb and 1 random unused tile, redraw the random tile if it does not have at least 2 exits, connect the graveyard to the central lamp, connect the random tile to the opposite side of the central lamp, then connect the tomb to the random tile. So there is a specific setup pattern here we must follow. I've gone ahead and created this setup from the special setup instructions, which state before creating your tile deck, you're going to go ahead and grab the graveyard tile and the tomb, and you're going to grab 1 random unused tile. So in this case, we have a whole bunch of random unused tiles that don't have names on them. So you're going to shuffle through those, and you're going to draw one at random, making sure there's at least 2 exits on it, and that's going to be the one that you're going to use in amongst these name tiles. So the instructions state to place the graveyard tile attached to the central lamp tile, and then place the random 2 exit or more tile on the opposite side of the central lamp tile from the graveyard. So you can see that set up more on the left hand side, and then connected to that random tile there is the tomb as well on the far side. Now, here is a point of confusion that might have you arguing in your head one of 2 different major ways to set this up, and that all comes down to the special setup instructions. You'll notice at the very top it says, before creating the tile deck, take the graveyard, the tomb tile, and 1 random unused tile. Now, when it states 1 random unused tile, my interpretation of this, and I want to make this perfectly clear, that I checked the FAQ, the official one, as well as the Bloodborne FAQ on Board Game Geek, and inside inside of those locations neither have a actual final official answer on this, but the path I choose to go down, and really you're not technically wrong either way because they've left this a little bit hard to decipher. The way I'm interpreting this is you're obviously, as you always do during setup, going to grab all your named tiles. So you're obviously going to have these tiles named out, the 5 of them, and it says to then go ahead and pull 2 random tiles per hunter up to a max of 5. So when playing solo, that's going to be 2 random tiles I have to grab. But it does state on the special setup instructions before creating your tile deck, take the graveyard one, the tomb, and 1 random unused tile. Now, the reason I believe they're mentioning before creating the tile deck and stating the keyword unused tile is because of the fact you need to redraw this random tile if it does not have at least 2 exits, and that's really important. Once you get that in place, then you go ahead and create your tile deck with all of the tiles it calls for, plus the 2 random tiles at the very bottom for a true solo play. And therein lies the problem of how you interpret this. You could interpret this that the random tile the special setup instructions is calling for is actually one of the 2 random tiles that you need to have as part of your tile deck based on the setup card. Or you might be interpreting it like I am, which is it is an addition to. It's another tile that's placed out at the very beginning. You still need to have those 2 random ones in your tile deck when you create them. So that's the way I'm going with this one. I can see arguments both ways. There's no official answer, but we'll just move past this. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning is prior to going ahead and setting up any tiles, when you have your central lamp tile at the beginning of one of your chapters, you always have your hunter or hunters placed on that central lamp tile in any of the spaces you wish prior to actually setting up any tiles on the table or your tile deck. This is so that you don't have any advanced knowledge as to where things are laid out. So in order to keep things fair, I'm going to place myself dead center in the middle. So my hunter has arrived on scene, albeit a little bit late. Should have been there early with just the central lamp tile, but now all the enemies, all the consumables are going to populate as well as another lantern. And just like that, the game board has been populated. Within the tomb tile, there's some text up in the top left-hand corner, which is sideways right now, says, instead of drawing a random consumable, draw 3 and select 1, then shuffle the others back into the deck. So this is going to be really awesome in terms of getting, or at least having a higher chance of getting something more useful for your current situation. It's worth mentioning the ability on the central lamp tile, as we always seem to have this as we start on this tile, interact on the central lamp space to teleport to any other lamp space or inside any fog gate. Could be quite useful. With Chapter 2 now set up, let's flip this card back over to its mission side and then reveal the card that allows us to understand what Chapter 2 has for us. Hunt Mission, Source of the Scourge. We have taken the first steps towards cleansing central Yharnam of the Scourge infestation, but our efforts have not gone unnoticed. The beasts have fled deeper into the district and some seek to avoid us. Perhaps some bait can be used to lure them out. During their turn, hunters may discard 1 consumable to spawn 1 Scourge Beast in their space. Each time you slay a Scourge Beast, gain 1 corpse token. Hunters may discard held tokens while on the graveyard tile, placing them on this card. When this card has the number of hunters plus 1 corpse token on it, reveal card 19. Now that we know what our hunt mission is, we need to focus on killing as many Scourge Beasts as possible to get up to the 2 tokens we need to place on the graveyard. That will be our goal. We also see here on Chapter 2 missions card that there is a number of tiles we can end our movement on in order to likely stir up some insight missions. Just like that, we know our mission, we're all set up and ready to go. Let's begin chapter number 2. We'll start with the hunter's turn, and always remember, on your very first turn or first round in a chapter, you don't advance the hunt track, and that's because the hunt track already starts on position number 1 and is only triggered the next time around on the round summary. You'll be able to find this in the rulebook, as it doesn't mention when you very first start a round. You just simply drop 3 cards and get going. On the start of the second round and onwards, you will definitely need to be moving that hunt track 1 every time, plus any additional times for going to the Hunter's Dream. Not too bad of a starting hand. We actually got 2 upgraded cards in it. So we have a Stagger, Draw 1, Unyielding. We have an Invigorating Dodge, Heal 1 that allows us to clear the slot or any other slot, and a basic dodge. Well, I already have a whole bunch of thoughts going through my head around strategy right now. First off, the fact that I could potentially go from the central lamp space by interacting with it right to the tomb tile, which would be kind of handy. And then I'd have to, of course, interact with that central tile first, so that would cost a card. Then from the tomb tile, once I kind of teleport over there, I could then use another card to move into the space with the chest, and then finally use my last card to interact with the chest to try to hopefully get a consumable that's really useful. Now, it's worth mentioning I still have my bolt paper, so if I really want to discard that bolt paper, I can have a Scourge Beast appear in my location even right now if I wanted to, if I didn't want to jump over to the tomb tile. The problem with that is if I do that, then on the next activation of the enemies, well, they're all within one tile of me. They're all going to come real close. They're not going to get into the same... Well, actually, that's not true. The Scourge Beast has a movement of 2 on activation, so I'll have a Scourge Beast on me very quickly. So it might be wise to head on over to the tomb tile, and that will also, in a way, pull the hunter mob closer to me. And then when I head back to the central lamp tile with one of my reward cards, which I do have one that allows me to teleport, I will not have to deal with the hunter's mob as quickly. So one card used to teleport over to the tomb tile. The next one I'm going to use is going to allow me to move into the space with the chest. And the final card will be used to interact with this chest, and hopefully we get something really good. At this point, we're all out of cards, but let's go ahead and drop 3 consumables and see what we have. We have a sedative, we have a cold blood dew, and we have a pungent blood cocktail. All these sound pretty cool and unique. So the one on the far left says hunter turn, draw 1 card. We get to remove a condition. I believe that one is frenzy if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that. Haven't seen it happen in this playthrough yet. Yes, it is. So I mean, that could be really useful. The cold blood dew, of course, gives us a blood token, which a blood echo token, which would be huge for getting upgrades. And then the pungent blood cocktail says hunter turn, 1 non-boss enemy within 2 spaces doesn't activate. Oh, ooh, that could be good. That could be good. It doesn't affect bosses though, but I mean, there's likely going to be quite a few of these enemies around. Ah, that's a tough choice. In the end, the cold blood dew won out. Now, why is this? Because I'm thinking about the hunter's dream and thinking about the fact for the hunt mission, I need to kill 2 Scourge Beasts, and that's going to be my major focus to try and do as quick as possible. And those would give me a blood echo each, plus this one would give me 3, meaning I go into a hunter's dream in the future with a full maxed out ability to upgrade 3 cards, which is the most you can bring into the hunter's dream. So I'm going that avenue. Now, I might regret not taking one of the other 2 because, well, those other ones were actually pretty awesome, and this is the one I'd usually skip, but it just works out perfectly, and I think getting some upgraded cards could help me later in this chapter. Now, as you likely remember from chapter number 1, one of the reward cards I got was a hand lantern, allowing me the ability to teleport to another lamp space. Of course, when I use it, I have to go ahead and exhaust it. Now, how I got to where I was I interacted with the central lamp space based on the ability on the tile. So that was like just available for me. This hand lantern is great for getting right back there without having to deal with the hunter mob whatsoever. But what I'm going to do, because moving to the, or actually activating this hand lantern right now would be really unwise, because the Scourge Beast and the hunter mob would start coming in on me, and I could deal with attacks, and them being right in the central lamp tile would be a problem. So what I'm going to do is stay where I'm at. I'm not going to use this reward card purposely in order to have the hunter mob on its activation, being that it's within 1 space, just move towards me, getting it further away from me and out of the equation, giving me more time to focus on the Scourge Beast on the opposite side. So the hunter mob is on the move and headed towards me, and that's going to be the end of their activation. At this point, we now go into the hunter's next turn. So I'm going to draw 3 cards up, and we're going to move the hunt track by 1. Not a bad draw right off the top. We got Cheap Shot, a basic draw 1, and a basic stagger. Unfortunately, no dodge cards in there though. I think what I'm going to do here, seeing as I have some decent cards in my hand and might be able to get lucky enough to get a dodge off the top of the deck from my basic draw 1 card, is I think I'm going to go ahead and actually purposely try and pull a Scourge Beast here. So on my turn, I can go ahead and get rid of a consumable. I have the bolt paper. I don't really plan on using that anytime real soon. It allows me to have 1 extra speed when I'm doing an attack, but I don't think I necessarily need it. So I'm going to discard it to spawn a Scourge Beast here. My hope is that I can put enough damage on it this turn and enough damage on it on the next turn to be able to kill it at worst, the hunts mob by then will, the hunter's mob I should say, or the hunter mob, will actually be one more space into the tile where I am. And when I go ahead and warp back to the central lamp tile, they'll be so far to the equation that I'll be able to dance around and go grab a consumable if I want to, or just head right into the graveyard and deal with that individual. Of course, knowing full well eventually things will reset, but this really frees me up from having to deal with a hunter mob constantly chasing me down. So the bolt paper right there is going to be discarded, and a Scourge Beast has arrived. It is time to do some attacks. I'm going to play a basic draw 1 in my heavy carve, very slow attack slot for 3 damage, and right away I can draw up a new card. Now this would have been a great card to have prior to starting this attack, as I could have put 4 damage on the thing and killed it in 1 hit. Not going to happen though, it's going to sit in my hand. The only other way I could kill this thing in 1 attack is potentially if my cheap shot can trigger if we get the ability card off the top of the action deck, which we're about to find out in a few seconds. Unfortunately, that pairing is not going to work out right now, but that's okay. We have a special. Let's see what this special does to us. So the Scourge Beast here has a pin and gnaw. Oh my gosh, this actually is really aggressive. So it's a slow attack, does 4 damage, has stun, and can't be dodged. Well, I guess the good news is I don't have any dodge cards anyway, so it doesn't stop me from doing anything, but that attack is pretty nasty. Wow, and talk about a huge miss on my part to get this onto a slot. Now, it doesn't actually show a time frame on this Bloodstone shard in terms of when I need to place it. It just says place on an attack slot, may switch the slot on transform, and while on the slot that attack deals +1 damage. So you know what? Because it doesn't state it has to be on the hunter's turn, I can slot this in wherever I want, and we haven't resolved combat yet, so I'm going to do it. And I almost missed my window there to place that on. That is a really powerful card, because what I can do now is essentially make my heavy carve attack, it already has 3 damage, now a 4 damage attack, guaranteeing I can wipe out Scourge Beasts so long as they don't, of course, throw conditions at me that can stop it. But that was a miss on my part to not get that in a slot. The other one I want to mention is the one in the top right. Way up in the top right, you'll see on attack, you can replace your stat card's effect with a +1 damage and stagger. So this is another way I could have gone about changing what I had here on my basic card in the heavy carve area. This would be a one-time use though, and that's the real big difference between the 2 cards you're seeing here. Is one, you place on to replace a card you've placed in your weapon slot on your trick weapon, whereas the Bloodstone shard literally stays on a slot, and then when you transform your weapon, you take the Bloodstone shard off and you get to choose which slot you'd like to place it on next. It's a really cool card. So I may not be able to dodge this attack, and it might be a pretty damaging one coming at me, but I still am going to have enough to wipe it out in 1 attack, which is perfect. Now, both attacks, as we can't dodge, are resolving at the exact same speed. They're both slow, so both of them are going to happen at the same time, so I'm going to lose 4 damage. I lose another damage if I can't discard a card for the stun effect that's being thrown at me from the Scourge Beast. I definitely have enough cards to do so, so I'll be tossing one of them to avoid that other damage, leaving me with just 2. Alright, so I tossed one of my stagger cards. I have 2 cards left, and now we're going to throw 4 damage straight at this enemy. So that Scourge Beast has been taken care of and will be removed off of the game board. My hunter made quick work of that Scourge Beast and is progressing the hunt mission, but we took a major hit because of it. A Blood Echo has been added to my pool, and also a corpse token is added just above the player board to recognize the fact I took out one of the Scourge Beasts. I need 1 more of those corpse tokens to advance the hunt mission further. Also, thanks to my trick weapons ability, it states on kill, draw 1, heal 1. So I'm back up to 3 health and I have a new card. Now I've got 3 cards in hand. Now, as I mentioned in my prior playthrough, chapter number 1, it's always worth reading these cards to better understand what the AI is going to throw at you depending on which enemy action it gets when it draws. And I just want to show you some of the nastiness that this Scourge Beast can get on this side of the equation. So you can see here, basic, quick swipe, we're used to that from chapter 1. The pin and gnaw, well, we've already seen it. It's a huge hit, which takes away a majority of your health. But even more nasty down below is the ability, which says that at a speed of 1, so a slow speed, before the hunter's attack, spawn 1 Scourge Beast in this space. So basically just dogpiling you with a number of enemies you're going to have to deal with. That one terrifies me. I do have a card in my hand that allows me to discard it as a cheap shot to get 2 damage, but I mean, when another Scourge Beast is coming in at the same time as you're dealing with the other one, that's not really going to help too much. So based on the fact that having multiple Scourge Beasts inside the same space as me and not having any dodge cards, that terrifies me. I don't know if I want to go to the graveyard just yet and deal with that Scourge Beast until I know that the ability card has come through the enemy action deck, so I don't have to deal with that particular situation. So what I might do is focus on going after the Hunter Mob, which was not really part of my strategy initially, but it could still lead me to a total of 3 Blood Echoes once I cash in my Cold Blood Dew. And that's not bad going into the Hunter's Dream and then coming back out better prepared to hopefully take down a Scourge Beast. And hopefully, again, that ability will be cycled out of the deck, but we'll have to see how it pans out. So let's go ahead with 3 cards that I have left and let's initiate an attack. But first, we need to move close enough to make it happen. I'm going to go ahead and use the basic draw 1 card to discard it to gain the movement to get into the same spot as the Hunter Mob. Now that I'm in there, I'm going to use Bloodthirsty. I'm going to slot that onto my trick weapon because, well, it's going to give me additional damage, has some pretty cool on-kill effects, and I'll keep Cheap Shot in case the ability comes up in the enemy action deck. I place Bloodthirsty in the very first position, which is my fastest attack on purpose because I'd like to be able to hit this thing and kill it before it has a chance to do anything back to me, hurting what already lack of health I have. If I put it in the slash position, it's still good because it would give me a total of 3 damage, but then I'm a little slower on the attack and it's probably in a more of an average spot where I could potentially be attacking at the same speed as the Hunter Mob, and I'd rather keep it where it is. Now I've obviously got that Cheap Shot ready to go in case I need it, but let's find out whether I can even use it. No, it does not look like I'm going to be able to use this thing. It doesn't want to be used. So I got a basic attack. The Hunter Mob is going to come at me at a medium speed for 2 damage. Pretty straightforward. I get to go first, though, because I'm at the fastest speed. I could dodge right now if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. The other thing I could do, which I still have the availability to do, is I could use my Hunter Pistol to stagger the enemy so it doesn't get to put the 2 damage on me, putting me down to 1 health. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So using my Hunter Pistol is going to allow me to avoid the damage from the enemy. I get to go ahead and place 2 damage on it. Unfortunately, I don't kill it, so I don't get the draw 1, heal 1. I wasn't really banking on that because I didn't think it was possible anyway. But it doesn't look like my plan worked because if I had been super lucky, I would have got the ability card and been able to kill it this round. Just doesn't work out every time. I think this is where my luck is going to begin to get a little bit sketchy, and I think this is where I need to stop. So instead of continuing to attack this thing and risking it landing its special, which as you can see there is a slow attack but does 4 damage, enough to wipe me right off the board. I don't have any dodge cards in hand anymore, so I mean I still didn't even when I went into this attack, so I was lucky that way. But the ability down below is even more nasty because basically at a slow attack before the Hunter's attack resolves, the Hunter Mob would move, and then it's going to try and hit me for 3 if I don't have a dodge card at medium speed, which I don't. So really, I'm not in a great spot to continue this battle, nor do I want to lose the progress I've made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my Cold Blood Dew card, which is my consumable right now, knowing that I don't need to use it to pull a Scourge Beast because there's one literally on the board I can go after. I'm going to discard this card in order to gain a Blood Echo, which will give me a total of 2. We're going to call it quits right there in terms of heading back to the Hunter's Dream with my last card to discard. So arriving at the Hunter's Dream, we'll go ahead and uptick the track by 1. I'm going to choose some cards to upgrade. Now, the 2 that I'm eyeing to use my Blood Echoes on are Counter-Strike and Swift, but remember, when you purchase one, it immediately gets filled in with another card, and you can then decide from the new 4, or not really new 4, but the new extra one that got added in, whether you want to go after that new one instead. But as of right now, my eyes are on the 2 that I've got tokens above, but the first one I'm going to grab to pay is that one right there for Counter-Strike, because that's really good. Being able to dodge and deal damage, that's pretty awesome. After purchasing the first one and replacing it with a new card, I got Tireless. Look at this thing. Draw 2, then discard 1 card. Like, that's awesome. Being able to get through the deck a little quicker and find the card I'm hoping to get, or one that will actually work for me in my current situation, that's huge. Plus, being able to remove a nasty condition at the same time that I haven't seen yet, but I'm like, I mean, who knows? At some point, that might just come out of the woodwork. I'm not sure. But regardless, I'm going to take Tireless because I think it's got the edge over Swift. So we'll go ahead and cash that in and add it to my deck. Hunter's Dream has been replenished. It looks like I've got lots of options on the blue types of cards. I also went ahead and upticked the Hunter's track as well, so you can see that's now up another level. And we're going to go over to the Hunter dashboard, refresh a bunch of things, recreate my deck. I need to ditch 2 cards if I want to add the 2 I just upgraded. Plus, we're going to be able to choose which side of the trick weapon we want on once we go back to the game board. I've gone ahead and cleared the row on my trick weapon. I still have the bloodstone shard in there, but remember, depending on which side of the weapon I want to be on when I go back to the map, I can choose to then place that stone in whichever slot I want to. So that will be changing, or maybe it won't be if I'm happy with where it's at. We definitely need to bump our health from 3 back to 6. Our blood echoes have all been spent. The hunter pistol needs to come back up and be refreshed. And these are the 2 cards I decided to actually discard based on the fact I want to add the 2 new purchase cards into my deck, which will be reshuffled and replenished. And just like that, we're all reset. I'm actually going to end up keeping it on the saw cleaver side of the trick weapon because, again, I've set up Heavy Carve to be a very high damage attack that can just wipe out a Scourge Beast in 1 hit. And at the end of the day, I don't want these things to stick around for a second attack and do me more damage. Getting them out of the way quickly is a good thing. So my hunter will be returning to the central lamp tile. We'll begin a brand new turn, which means the hunt track moves up by 1, and we are now 1 space away from a reset, so I definitely want to kill this Scourge Beast really, really fast, but it's also terrifying knowing that I could be in the space where it respawns later on anyway. And then on top of it, we also need to go ahead and draw 3 cards. Not a bad hand this time around. We got Counter Strike Dodge. After dodging, deal 2 damage to that enemy. A great one to have. Unyielding, which is a stagger, draw 1. And Basic Dodge. So we got a lot of options here, and I definitely feel comfortable about going in here, especially if another nasty Scourge Beast reappears thanks to the ability card. I'm hoping that does not happen. My hunter moves into the graveyard, discarding one of its cards, and now I'm going to go ahead and use Unyielding. I'm going to place this one in the 2nd slot, which is my slash attack slot of my trick weapon for a medium speed. That ensures that I keep a dodge card on hand that can deal damage that is enough damage to add on top of this slash attack I'm doing at medium speed to kill it, but I also get to draw up a card right now, and I have the stagger too. Ha! Another dodge. Perfect. I'll place that in my hand. Scourge Beast is coming out with a basic attack. It's a fast attack, 2 damage. So at this point, I'm certainly going to dodge it. And by placing this card in the 1st slot, which allows me to dodge it and then place 2 damage, you'll notice the difference on this dodge card is that it doesn't clear the slot right away. So it is going to clog up one of my slots, but it's worth it for the 2 extra damage that I get. Plus, I avoid all the damage from the Scourge Beast, so 4 damage going on it is going to kill it. And my trick weapon allows me to draw up a card and heal 1. I don't need the heal, but I will definitely take another dodge card. The 2nd Scourge Beast has been eliminated. The Scourge Beast drops a Blood Echo, which I'll place on my player board, a Corpse Token, which I will put with my other Corpse Token, and now while in the graveyard tile as it's specified on the Hunt mission, I'm going to take both of those Corpse Tokens, place them on the Hunt mission card, and I can reveal card 19. Now I'm not going to do, actually, you know what, I will do that right away, so we can progress the Hunt mission, and then afterwards, if I feel like it, based on whatever changes as the Hunt mission progresses, I may interact with a consumable that's in my space as well, because, well, why not? Bottom of the card states to reveal card 19, so we'll do exactly that. Source of the Scourge. Now that we have suitable bait, setting a trap for these instinctive beasts will be easy enough. As we prepare, we should also investigate the havens across the district where the common folk gather during the night of the hunt to see just how far the infection has spread through central Yharnam. Now, it states at the bottom here, when the hunters have collected at least 2 insight this chapter, we can reveal card 20, and in order to get insight missions going, we know we should look to the chapter 2 mission card. And you'll see 3 things listed out after the start of the hunt, which we've already gone ahead and done. We can end a move on the clinic, we can end a move on the chapel, or the bridge to reveal cards that will gain us the insight so long as we actually complete those side missions. Now that we know that things are relatively safe as we continued on through the hunt mission, we can go ahead and discard one of my dodge cards in order to interact with this consumable, and hopefully it's something good. Yup, that looks pretty awesome. We got ourselves a Molotov cocktail. It says, Hunter's turn, deal 2 damage to an enemy in your space. And it's just 1 enemy. So even though you're chucking into a space, there could be multiple. The Molotov's only going to affect the one you choose. Now at this point, I kind of have 2 different options going for me here. One is, I do like dodge cards. I could keep this card in my turn right now so I ensure I have one in my hand for the next time around, which might not actually be a bad idea. But you'll also notice my trick weapon is pretty much filled up except for the giant heavy carve at the end where I can slot something in there and get some big time damage, which is really big time damage. It'd be up to 4, which would certainly handle whatever I'm dealing with likely to come if I was to head north or south from here. But that's the question. Do I flip this over at this point, or do I hold on to what I've got here? I think I might hold out and might just hold on to the dodge card. So we'll go ahead and be drawing up to 3 cards at the end of my next turn. Now it moves to the enemy activation right now, but that hunter mob is so far away from me, they're not going to activate whatsoever. But as of right now, we're going to be jumping into a brand new turn for me, which is going to move the wonderful hunt marker to the reset point, which is going to have a big time impact on the game. So just so you can see the lay of the land, currently this is where things situate. Again, as I mentioned, the hunter's mob is way too far away to activate. So as of right now, it comes right back around to my turn. I'm going to be drawing up to 3 cards, moving the hunt track right now, and then everything's going to resituate, which means that hunter's mob that has 2 damage is going back to its original spawn point. It's not going to have 2 damage on it anymore. There's going to be a scourge beast that's going to show up in the space I'm in. Consumables are going to refresh as well. Just like that, we're all squared away. So you can see I got everything done before the first reset happened, which is pretty good, but I am standing right next to a Scourge Beast, which is pretty bad. So at this point in time, at least it's my turn when that reset was to happen. So in other words, it happens at the beginning of my Hunter turn, so that Scourge Beast does not get to come after me and attack me, and I still have the ability to dodge it, but I do obviously need to draw up 2 cards for this coming turn, but I think I've got this handled with having the heavy carve slot open. And not a bad card pull either way here. I got another dodge with a heal 1, and I can clear this or any other slot. That's really handy. And then I have a basic draw 1 as well. So this is where things get interesting for me. I'll be able to go ahead and make an attack here on this Scourge Beast, which is what I want to do to just clear this area up, potentially even have some time to grab another consumable before I try and explore further into the tiles to try and find and trigger some insight missions. But as you can see on my board right now for my trick weapon, I only have 1 slot available on the far right hand side, which is great for slicing through these Scourge Beasts no problem. The downside is I won't be able to dodge. So all these dodge cards I have are not going to help me, as I won't have any slots to put them in. So what I need to think about doing is potentially flipping my trick weapon over by discarding one of the dodges. Trick weapon has been refreshed, discarded a dodge card, and I've also slotted in my Bloodstone shard into the furthest slot to give me 3 damage when I go ahead and make that attack. Again, this is the only downside to doing this trick weapon flip, is that this side has an ability on it for giving you additional damage for stagger, which I don't have any cards that have stagger, so I'm not going to get that bonus, which means I'm going to be short trying to get this thing killed in 1 foul swoop, unless I use my Molotov cocktail, which I do have, that can deal 2 damage to 1 enemy if I just decide to chuck it, which I could do if I really want to. But I'm also a little bit scared. There is a potential 1 in 3 chance I could pull an ability card for this Scourge Beast and see a second Scourge Beast show up, which would be problematic. So let's go ahead and hope to kill this thing without the second one showing up. I'm going to use the basic card, draw 1, and we're going to throw it into the slash slot. Hey, now this I like. We got ourselves a cheap shot. I could use a cheap shot right now. Has stagger on it as well. If an enemy in your space uses an ability, discard from hand and deal them 2 damage. This could come in really, really handy. So we're going into an attack now. Let's go ahead and draw the enemy action. Find out, is it going to be the ability? There's a 33% chance this could happen. There we go, and this is the perfect time to get this ability card, because I just got that cheap shot card, which is going to put me up over the hump to be able to kill this thing before its ability is going to trigger, which is really important. So when an ability does get pulled from this, you always take a look at it, because it might immediately resolve, but you take a look to see if there's any kind of speed attached to it, which there is in this case. It says bestial howl at a slow speed before the hunter's attack, and the reason it's mentioning before a hunter's attack is if I had also attacked at a slow speed when we're resolving, then normally both happen at the same time simultaneously. But in this case with the Scourge Beast, if I attacked at a slow speed with it, the Scourge Beast would go first, and as you can see, it would spawn another Scourge Beast. And it's also worth noting, if another Scourge Beast comes in, even though we just activated this one, the newly spawned Scourge Beast is going to get another activation, even if it's past its window of activation. So it's pretty nasty to have that thing come in. I believe it's page 17 of the rulebook, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of surprises for enemies popping up like that. So that's really nasty, but the reason I'm excited about this is because I got that cheap shot card, I'm going to be able to skirt this whole situation, because not only did I put myself at a medium attack speed, so I'm going to be able to attack first and and before, I'm not going to bother spending a dodge here at all, because in this particular case, you're not going to be able to dodge the ability. But what I can do is just kill it before it actually has a chance to even activate anything. So it's going to be a 2/damage, +1 for the shard is 3. I'm going to chuck my cheap shot in there as well, which states if an enemy in your space uses an ability, which it's doing right now, discard from your hand and deal them 2 damage. So that's going to be a total of 5 damage going to the Scourge Beast. So that worked out perfectly, and as you can see on the far right hand slide, that slot is now filled up. We've got the cheap shot one there. That card's now going to be discarded into my discard pile, but this is the one that gave me what I needed to avoid a second Scourge Beast from coming out. This was really what I needed to do, and if I hadn't got that card, we would be dealing with another one, which would be nasty. But that Scourge Beast on the board is also going to be completely removed, and we're going to gain a Blood Echo. With my final card in hand, I'm going to go ahead, which is a dodge, even though, oh, this is tough. I could keep this for later on. It might be worthwhile, or I could check out that consumable that's calling my name. I think I'm going to go for the consumable. We'll see what happens. This looks pretty good. We got an antidote here. On the hunter's turn, we can draw 1 card and remove 1 poison. That seems pretty handy. That's going to end my hunter's turn, and there's no enemies to activate within range, so no enemies within a tile of me. So thankfully nothing on the central lamp tile that needs to activate. I cleared out the graveyard completely, and I'm looking to explore going into the next turn, which is exactly what we're moving into right now. We're going to drop 3 cards and move the hunt track by 1. 3 cards that I got was a basic +1 damage, Bloodthirsty with a +1 damage and an on-kill draw 1, heal 1, and then Tireless, the draw 2, then discard 1 card, and I can remove either a frenzy condition or a poison condition. I haven't seen either of these conditions show up yet, but I also have never seen a boss inside of this playthrough yet, so it's very possible this could be handy in the future, but maybe not necessary right now. Going ahead and discarding my basic +1 damage card, which is probably the worst card of the 3 that I got in my hand, and I'm going to move to the east, and we're going to see what awaits us. It appears we have found the Great Bridge, and we have an icon here on the board, as a couple of them actually. We have a consumable and an icon that's going to mean a hunter mob is spawning here too. There's some text in the top left-hand corner, which is sideways here for the Great Bridge. It says, hunters may not move out of spaces containing enemies while on this tile. So it looks like you got to sit tight and fight your way out. So everything is populated on the Great Bridge now, and we still have 1 point of movement to spend. The question is, do I stay put and end my movement, or do I go into the same space with a hunter mob? Well, I'm looking at the cards that I have right now. Bloodthirsty is a good card. I get an additional damage. But when I look at my trick weapon right now, the best attack that I have out of the gates just as a default is just quick cuts. Really fast attacks, but they only do 1 damage. And the Bloodthirsty is going to add an additional to that. But that's it. That's all I've got. Now, the only other thing I have in my back pocket that could be really handy is I've got a rune that will allow me to add a damage and stagger, and basically this the saw cleaver side of my trick weapon gives me a +1 damage if I have stagger. So I could, at best, get up to a 3 damage attack. Again, though, it's not enough to wipe it out completely, as the hunter mob has 4 health. So I'd be putting myself in a situation for a couple different attacks that I may not be ready for with just 2 cards in hand and 0 dodge cards. Yeah, after some thought, looking at my trick weapon, my current setup in terms of how much damage I can do and everything else, I think it's a little risky. So let's actually hold off on going any further. We're going to end our movement right now. We're going to go and reveal card 35 because we've ended a movement on the Great Bridge. We do have an insight mission here that says last minute rescue. As you enter the massive bridge, you hear the familiar gunshot of a hunter's firearm. Rushing forth, you come across the sight of a hunter slumped against a wall, firearm raised as the towering figure approaches. Reveal card 36. We'll be sure to do this very soon after reading the rest. Surround the Great Bridge tile with fog gates. Spawn 1 huntsman's minion on, oh no, instead of the usual enemy. Okay, so in this case, we're actually going to be getting rid of the usual enemy. In this case, that would actually have been the hunter mobs. We're getting rid of that. We're putting a huntsman's minion on this instead, and it responds to that space on a reset. And it states here, slay this huntsman's minion, and then we can reveal card 37. So let's first reveal card 36 and find out more about what's going on here. Plus, we need to replace the miniature that's currently here, and the fog gates need to appear. Oh no, this does not look good. Okay, the card states place 1 insight token on this card. When the huntsman's minion would be slain, instead remove the token and heal all damage from it. Token is returned on a reset and replace its special with the following. So the special it's being replaced with is immune to pain. It's a slow attack, does 4 damage, and then it blocks 2 damage from the hunter's attack and cannot be staggered. That's pretty nasty. Well, so much for worrying about a hunter mob when the huntsman's minion is what we are going to be dealing with right now. And man, am I not prepared for this battle at all. I don't have any dodge cards. I'm going into this with some... Oh, this is so bad. This is not going to be good. I still can do some attacking, but I'm just scared as to how much damage is going to come flying my way because this thing is tough and it has 5 health. So I'm going to have to kill it with 5 health or 5 damage first, and then remove an insight token, and then another 5 to take it actually down to its final resting place, hopefully over the side of the bridge and out of my way. So when times start getting tough, it's time to start using the items I've been holding on to for quite some time. So I've got this Molotov cocktail. I'm certainly going to think about chucking this right now and putting 2 damage on it. Now remember, the damage on him is going to reset once we hit a reset point in the track. As of right now, I know you can't see the hunt track, but I am 1 space, 2 space, okay, and the third move is going to put me on a reset. So I've got enough time, I think, to be able to drum up enough damage to take this thing down so it doesn't reset and I have to deal with all kinds of other problems. The other thing that's nice is this antidote that I grabbed, thankfully, from that chest will allow me to draw a card. So that'll get an additional card into my hand, which is nice. I also have the ability potentially on attack, if I choose to use Tireless, I could draw 2 cards and discard 1, hopefully getting a dodge that could help me to avoid some really nasty damage. But then I'm not putting as much damage on him because I wouldn't be initiating the attack with Bloodthirsty. So there's just so much things to think about in terms of which way I want to go here. Plus, my current trick weapon is not really on the side that I want it to be. I'd rather flip it to the opposite side, so I might want to burn a card to do that too. There's a ton to think about here. The antidote was discarded. I was able to draw a card. I'm able to do this on my hunter's turn because it still is my turn. I'm definitely going to use that basic stagger that I just got in order to flip my trick weapon over. I really want to get into a situation where I can put some serious damage on something. Plus the fact that the trick weapon side that's on right now already has a card in the best slot. I'm just not set up and I'm not ready for this kind of beast to come after me. So let's discard the stagger. Let's flip over the trick weapon. Let's reset the stone shard. Let's get things going and then we'll go into an attack and see how much damage we can throw at it in 1 hit. Awesome. Now this is what I'm planning on doing. I've now cleared my trick weapon, flipped it over, and as you can see, I'm going to use the heavy card, which is a slow attack, but is my most powerful, especially when I pump it up with the bloodstone shard, which is able to move in a slot when I transform, giving me a +1, as well as the bloodthirsty on top of it, which is going to be 5. A draw 1 and a heal 1 will not apply because when I actually do 5 damage to it, if hopefully there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting this 5 damage through, the insight token is just going to come off, so I don't actually get the benefit of drawing and healing. But hey, 5 damage, like that's a much better result than what I had on the opposite side of the weapon. Also knowing that I need to prepare in terms of what's going to happen next. After I get 5 damage off, and I'll have to do another 5 damage, so that's why I'm holding onto the Molotov cocktail for now, because I'll do it on the next time around when I do an attack to put 2 damage on to help me work my way back up. The tireless card here, this is going to really come in handy maybe to start the next attack and draw 2 cards and get something that's really going to help me during the next one. So this might pan out, but I could also get completely wiped out here. It's going to be really interesting. I believe inside the enemy action deck right now there's just a basic and a special. And I know this because 4 cards have already been pulled. So it's, I mean, they're big heavy attacks regardless from this guy. He's not easy. The card we pulled is a basic, so I know for a fact now the second one's going to be a special, which is going to be off of that new card we revealed, so we will certainly be seeing that because I won't be able to kill it that quickly. So basic's going to trigger, which is up here. It is a slow attack, just like mine, which means both of ours will resolve at the same time, unless, of course, I dodge this, which, as of right now, I can't, but it's only doing 3 damage to me, so I'm still on my feet, which I guess is a good thing. This may actually work out not so bad. So looking at my hunter dashboard, you'll notice I've got a pistol still. I haven't used it yet since I came back from the hunter's dream. And this seems like a really good time to do it because he did a basic attack. So I can go ahead right now and activate this, flipping it over and exhausting it to automatically stagger him, stopping him from being able to do his 3 damage to me. So even though I didn't have a dodge, I still have that pistol saving me. And what I can do now is just put 5 straight damage on him, which is amazing, ripping away his insight token, and he's going to have 5 damage left, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can actually pull that off in one attack next round, but that is going to be much tougher. All right, we're all settled away. The insight token's been removed. My hunter pistol's been exhausted. We do now need to start another attack. Now, I don't have to. I can always stop and not do an attack, but I don't want this thing to be able to activate, although it technically is always activating when I initiate a fight. I just want to get rid of this thing as fast as possible, and I think I found the only combination to put 5 damage together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fire a Molotov cocktail at him, putting 2 damage on him. I'm really happy that I had that Molotov. This is going to save me. I'm going to initiate an attack by putting Tireless in the slash position, which is a medium speed attack for 2 damage. And instead of immediately taking the effects on the card, I'm going to instead go ahead and grab one of my runes and change it. I've placed the claw mark rune on top, which states on attack, replace your stat card's effect with a +1 damage and stagger. This is exactly what I needed in order to pull off 3 damage plus the 2 that I already have. Let's go ahead and pull that last card, which we know is going to be a special for the enemy. As we expected, the special was pulled. We're not going to reference the special on the Huntsman's Minion card. We're going to go over to the special revealed card for this campaign and check out that special ability again. Well, I guess it couldn't be perfect, right? I mean, he's going to block something, and unfortunately, even though I somehow managed to get 2 5 damage attacks back to back inside of the same couple cards that I had in hand, plus using a couple consumables and runes and a bunch of other things, it looks like things are going to go a little sideways on me here because the special states it's a slow attack for 4 damage, but it blocks 2 of the hunter's attack, which is going to stop me from killing it, which is, brutal. And then it can't be staggered. So my stagger is not going to help me here. So essentially the stagger that I gained by putting that rune on means nothing. But my 3 damage goes up against it, so really only 1 goes through. So it will uptick from 2 to 3. And then it's going to come back on me with 4 damage, which is a lot. Well, that was pretty messy. I took a lot of hits, but guess what's even more messy? When you make a mistake. But I caught it, and I'm going to correct it. I mentioned this in the pinned comment, and likely in the video earlier to let you know that I didn't see this until now, but I'm going to correct it now. And what I'm going to do is, I made 2 attacks with 2 cards that I had in my hand, but I need to move. I need to be in the same space with the enemy in order to do the attack. So, because of this, I'm going to burn one of the cards to move first, and then the second one to attack, which means the first attack I did is the only one that's going to land. The second one is going to be completely retracted back. So what does that mean? You're going to see the original attack that I made against this thing was a Molotov. That's okay, because that wasn't an actual attack that spent a card. It was just a consumable. So 2 damage will stay on this thing. But the 1 damage that landed on it, because I made a 3 damage attack and it blocked with its special for 2, that 1 damage that got through is going to be washed away. The hits that came to me just on that last attack are also going to be washed away. So I'm going back up to 6. The enemy will have 2 hearts. My character will be moved into the correct space where it should be. And then the other thing that's going to be reset is, of course, the last card in the enemy action deck was a special. We already knew this without even having to look at it, but that card's going to be reset so that that happens next on the next attack. And that's pretty much it. So we're just taking away the last nasty attack. And there we go. Everything is all set back. We're all correct now. The one thing I want to mention is I have a hand lantern. My turn's done. I have no more cards left. I have a hand lantern which does say I can teleport to any lantern space. This seems like the right time to do this because I don't want to be in this area, but the one thing I'm noticing inside the rulebook is for the fog gates, once those fog gates are in place, you are trapped inside of that location as it states in the rules for the fog gate, but you can get out if you spend a card to go to the Hunter's Dream. I don't have a card. I don't believe my current consumable, as it states on it, says Hunter turn, teleport to any lamp space. I still don't think I can do this when fog gates are up. This is one of those interesting FAQ questions that I wasn't able to quickly find an answer for, but if somebody can let me know whether that's possible, then that would be awesome. If it's not possible, which I don't believe it is, then I do have an incoming attack coming my way, which we already know is going to be a special, which is automatically going to smash me, as we know it's going to use its nasty immune to pain ability up top for 4 damage. So I'm going to go right back down to 2 damage. But I'm going to leave it right here because I want to get some feedback as to whether or not I can use this hand lantern right now or not. I'm also going to do some digging and research myself. I don't believe I can. Maybe you guys can tell me otherwise. Thank you guys so much for watching this part of chapter number 2. Hopefully I can continue to survive, but some of these enemies are extremely tough and you need to be prepared going into them, and this is one I certainly wasn't ready for. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.